Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, welcome again, everyone. Just for starters, just to introduce myself, first of all, my name is Kevin Graham. I'm a law lecturer here at the Open University, of course, and I'll be chairing the discussion, the guest talk tonight, and I'm ably assisted, of course, by my colleague, Joanna Miriktooth, and I will, of course, now like to formally welcome our guest speaker for tonight, who's very kindly joined us and is going to give us a nice little talk on her career and professional background and career path, and that is, of course, Sarah Powell. So thank you, Sarah, for coming along tonight. By way of introduction, and feel free to correct me, Sarah, if I get any of these details wrong, but Sarah is a solicitor advocate in criminal defence, and Sarah will discuss the ups and downs of a day in the life of a solicitor advocate, the challenges of the profession, including its pros, its cons, how to achieve a work-life balance, and how pre-law experience can be relevant to a career in legal practice. Sarah will also discuss different possible career paths following your degree in law. So hopefully you'll find it very interesting. And like I say, we're delighted that Sarah has actually joined us tonight and is going to talk through, and I'm going to ask a series of questions, if that's okay, Sarah, just to prompt the discussion and get us going. So thank you very much. And I suppose the obvious first question, if you like, is are you able to outline or describe your career path, the path to your profession?
Yeah, absolutely. And can I say thank you for having me, and thank you everybody for joining as well this evening. So my career progression. So I never wanted to be a lawyer, which is surprising for people that know me, particularly those that have always known me as a lawyer. I wanted to be a vet. And I always wanted to be a vet, but for various reasons that I won't trouble you with, that was a career that it didn't get off the starting blocks, and I sort of fell to law. Actually, I went on an open day with a friend of mine. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to go to university, but didn't know what I wanted to do. She went on an open day. She went along to a couple of universities. She was going to read law. And I thought, you know what, I quite fancy giving that a bit of a actually. And I did, and I got accepted into university. And sort of just took off from there. So my law degree, my LLB, is actually in criminal justice. And I studied criminal law in my second year, and I will be brutally honest, it was the only thing I was really ever very interested in. I mean, there's interesting parts for everything else, but crime is what really got me going, got me really interested. And so I specialised in criminal justice for the final year of my degree. That's why my LLB is in criminal justice. And then when I secured my training contract, because that was the old route into the profession, I secured a training contract, and I did the vast majority of that in criminal law. And I've really been in criminal law ever since. So I sort of fell into it by accident, and then found my niche, found my specialism, and it really took off from there. And then I spent quite a number of years in well, I am in private practice. I've always been in private practice. I do defence work. I don't do prosecution. And apart from the times when I've been away on maternity leave, having my children, I've got 3 children. We'll talk about sort of work-life balance a little bit later. That's been what I'm doing, and I jokingly say that, quite frankly, I'm not really good for anything else now. I can't help you buy a house, but if you do decide that you want to kill your partner, come and have a conversation with me. Then a few years ago, just before COVID, actually, I decided I wanted to do something more. I'd sort of exhausted everything that I'd done as my solicitor route, so I did the bolt-on qualification, which is the higher rights advocacy. And again, I jokingly say, although there's quite a lot of truth to this, that I can actually do everything a barrister can do and more. So I now represent people at every stage of criminal proceedings, so from the police station through to the magistrates court, through to the Crown Court, and indeed beyond. And in fact, Kevin, I'm off again to the Court of Appeal next week.
Oh,
so I can do your cradle to grave, and that was a really good career progression for me. And so that's me. That's sort of what I do and where I am.
Excellent. No, thank you. And it sounds very interesting, and it certainly sounds, yeah, quite a few twists and turns, quite a few interesting segments to that story as well, and hopefully quite inspiring to to those of you who are listening to this chat. And one thing I should have said right at the start, but I'm going to say it now: there is a Q&A box open. We don't have the chat function going, but if you do have any questions as we go, based on what Sarah is saying, as we work through and as we discuss, feel free to put them in your Q&A box there, and we will pick them up as we go. So yeah, that's I like some of the tongue-in-cheek comedic sort of nuances that you had there, Sarah, particularly about, well, I can't help you buy a house, but if you want to kill your partner, and all the rest of it. But I mean, what I'm also sort of intrigued about, and just wondering if you have any particular thoughts on this. Were there any individuals, were there any role models, mentors, anybody that inspired you or supported you along your way that you kind of looked up to or wanted to emulate in any way?
I mean, numerous throughout my career. I mean, I'm of a generation where, um, obviously, criminal sort of documentaries and dramas, they've always been really popular, haven't they?
Mm,
Um, and the reality is I went into criminal law because I was good at it at university, and I ended up being quite good at it in my training contract, and hopefully people agree I'm still quite good at it now. But along the way, I've met, as I'm sure you can, very interesting characters, both from a client perspective, and also a professional perspective as well. And there's sort of two answers to that, Kevin. I think
mm,
part of it is that the professionals that I've been inspired by, when I teach advocacy as well. And one of the things that I talk about with teaching advocacy is watch advocates,
mm,
because you'll pick up lots of different things from lots of different people. And I've seen good advocacy and I've seen bad advocacy. And you pick up a lot from watching it and listening to other people. But
mm,
I'm also really inspired by my clients. I think sometimes people have a particular view of a criminal client. And actually they come with real stories and real problems and real issues. And um, I find sometimes what they've been through and the situations that they're in really inspiring as well. There's
mm,
a gentleman, though, who stands out for me, very sadly no longer with us, passed away a few years ago. And I'm delighted that I could call him not only an inspiration, but ultimately a colleague. He came to work at the firm that I was working for, and also a friend who was very kind to me when I was very new and very inexperienced, and spent time talking to me and explaining things to me and giving me that real life experience that you don't really get from university or from learning law, and understanding how to interact
mm.
with the people. And I said this when we celebrated 50 years of him being a qualified solicitor, and I recounted a particular story when he'd been very kind to me, and he didn't remember it at all, but it's something that stays with me, and I remember, and I pass on that story to everybody else. So he has been a particular inspiration, and also my principal. So I work for a sole practitioner. She's an absolute force of nature. Kevin, if I ever got into trouble, I know that she's exactly the first person that I would call. She's got three children, just like I have. She's navigated a situation where, um, certainly when she started in practice, it was unheard of for women to be duty solicitors. So she had to fight to be she was the first female duty solicitor on the duty solicitor rota for my local area as well.
Right.
And just seeing her and the way that she works, and she's built business from scratch, and how successful we are. So she's my other professional role model as well.
Oh, brilliant. No, that's really interesting. And you find that, don't you? You find that in different professions. Sometimes it is colleagues. It doesn't necessarily have to be anybody in the public eye or famous. Sometimes it's the inspiration behind our colleagues' stories and the way they conduct themselves that we gain admiration for particular qualities and characteristics. And yeah, no, that's really interesting. I suppose that kind of leads on to my next question to an extent as well. In that, obviously we have students here tonight, we have students listening, hopefully, to this recording and what have you. And I suspect some will be wondering if they don't have any, say, contacts or relatives or even friends, who work in the profession or in that kind of role. What advice would you give to students about gaining experience in the absence of having, contacts or anything like that?
So I didn't, and I don't. I'm the only lawyer in my family, and often you do find it sometimes that it runs through generations, but it certainly
Mm,
wasn't the case for me. A lot of this will depend on what area of law you want to go into. So I can speak for my area of law, which is criminal law. It's getting yourself known. Actually, that the criminal law world is a very small environment, smaller than you can imagine,
mm,
and it's being tenacious. It's putting yourself out there. Go and visit your local court. Magistrates courts are hugely busy, and remember, courts are public buildings, so you can go and sit in any court around the country and you can watch all the criminal cases that go through the courts that day. And that's the same for magistrates court and crown court. Exceptions while we're dealing with youth courts, so they're not accessible, or there's certain things that might be done and what we call in chambers or in camera, which is behind closed doors.
mhm,
Vast majority of this is accessible. Go to court, learn who people are, talk to the lawyers, talk to the legal advisors, see who goes to that court regularly, see if there's any firm names that often pick up. And then you can say, oh, I've been to my local court, I'm really interested in doing X, Y, and Z. Do you offer any work experience?
mm,
Don't forget, you've got those other organisations as well. You've got the Crown Prosecution Service, you've got the Probation Service. You can apply to do something called judicial marshalling, which is where you can sit and follow a Crown Court judge. All of this is actually really available for people to look up if you know what it is that you're looking up for. And they are open applications. You can apply to do mini pupilages at chambers if you want to be a barrister. You can do work experience in local firms. I take on work experience pretty much all through the year as well. And often what they'll just do is come and sit and shadow me and watch a court day as well. And it's getting yourself out there. I think particularly in my profession, doing criminal law, because it's all about human interaction. It's really getting yourself out there, getting known, being tenacious, being consistent as well. You'll get a lot of no's before you get that yes, but you only need that one yes, and then you're absolutely in. And obviously keep an eye on the Solicitors Regulation Authority website, keep an eye out for training opportunities, um, doorstep firms as well. We employed somebody who just kept on at us and just kept saying, do you know what, I really want to do this. I want a job. I want to learn. I want to learn. And she's one of the best employees that we have currently. So
there
yeah,
you
but getting
go.
out, be afraid. Don't be afraid.
Yeah,
Make your
yeah.
own connections.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and I think that's fantastic advice, by the way, as well. And just rattling through some of the organisations, some of the bodies, and all the rest of it, it's just bringing home to me. Yeah, yeah, there are chambers, there are firms, there's the CPS, there's an awful lot out there who you could approach and go in and at different angles and gain that experience and shadowing and all the rest of it. So that's really good. And I suppose it links back to a previous question as well, because you did mention, you said, oh, you've worked with different characters or you've observed different characters through your work, in the area of work that you practice in. And I was just wondering if you could maybe just give us a flavour, if you like, a brief flavour of not so much the individuals, but the kind of organisations, the kind of stakeholders maybe that you interact with on a frequent or semi-frequent basis.
Yeah, I mean, there's just loads. I mean, obviously, the obvious one is you've got the court system, haven't you? So
Mhm.
you've got judges, you've got magistrates, you've got legal advisors, you've got probation officers who will be within the court as well. You've got prosecutors, so that could be CPS prosecutors, that's the Crown Prosecution Service. They bring the vast majority of criminal proceedings. There's also other organisations that got prosecution powers. So the RSPCA, for example, have prosecution powers. Local authorities have prosecution
Of course.
powers. So you come into contact with those. Post office used to have prosecution powers, a little bit contentious in light of the scandal with what was going on there. But again, there's all these other organisations that you don't automatically think about. But then spreading the net a little wider from a defence perspective, I also engaged with forensic psychiatrists, psychologists. I talk to forensic accountants. I will deal with people who are specialists in alcohol treatment or drug treatment.
Yeah.
And I could go on and on and on because the criminal justice system is massive. Okay, it takes an absolute army of people to make the system work, and there are so many people involved. Even in one case, there will be so many people involved. Whether it's defense experts that I'm instructing, I could be talking to forensic psychiatrists, I could be the list is endless. But the reality is that all of these people will feed into the criminal justice system and then also feed out as well. They might go into family law proceedings. We find a lot of crossover between criminal law and family law, for example. Or for people who are interested in personal injury claims as well, I'll sometimes be dealing with personal injury solicitors if there's been, say, for example, a road traffic accident, there's been criminal liability as a result of that. I'll deal with mental health solicitors because you can imagine there's a lot of crossover there as well. So honestly, Kevin, I could go on and on and on about the list of people that I come into contact with. It's so wide reaching, and I think more than perhaps people realise.
Definitely, no, and thank you for that. And that is, I mean, there's a plethora out there, isn't it? It's a vast range of organisations, individuals, stakeholders, if you want to call them that, who understandably and logically will have a part to play in the criminal justice system and all the rest of it, but we seldom stop and think about it, do we? We seldom think about it in those ways and consider it. And you mentioned this right at the start, and I suppose this leads us nicely into because it all sounds very busy. It all sounds very busy in the sense that you've got these different bodies, you've got these partners, if you can call them that, you've got the clients and all the rest of it. You individually, in your work, in your job, how would you describe your work-life balance as a result of your work, basically?
Oh, well, so chaos probably springs to mind. So, but for full disclosure, Kevin, what you need to know about me is not only am I a criminal defence solicitor, but I'm also married to a police officer. So you can imagine that our life is interesting, to say the least. And I've got 3 children. Although I don't suppose, well, I've got 2 teenagers and one who looks like she's a teenager, but is a few years off being a teenager. The job is busy, okay, and the reality is I am probably at the busiest that I've ever been through my career because the courts are busy, and that's the reality. But also the other reality of that is one of the reasons that I'm so busy is because the criminal defence community, in fact, the criminal justice community overall is shrinking. We've got less lawyers coming into it, we've got less judges, we've got less courtrooms, but we don't have less work. So part of the reason I love doing these events is to encourage, persuade, gently bribe people onto thinking about this as a career path, because there is absolutely a space for people who are committed and dedicated. It's hard work. I'm not going to lie to anybody. It's hard work. The hours can be long. They can be unsocial hours. It can be difficult work. It can be physically draining. It can be emotionally draining. But I tell you what, Kevin, it's so worthwhile when you make a difference to somebody's life. And that difference doesn't necessarily mean that somebody has a trial and is found not guilty. That's not always what the difference is. Sometimes the difference is just getting a good result for that person, or sometimes it's just listening to that person and them being heard. It is as much to make a difference. But the job is what you make it. And it is possible to have a work-life balance. I mean, look, I manage, I teach alongside as well. I was
going to say, yeah.
Lots of things that you can do. But it's criminal law, I think, possibly more than some of the other disciplines, often is spoken about in a little bit of a vocational sense. It's not for everybody. It absolutely isn't for everybody, which is why if it's something you're really passionate in and really interested in, get the experience. Go along and see what it is, because it's not as glossy and glamorous as it might first appear on TV, for example. But you'll see the reality of the situation and you will learn the humanity and the stories behind it and how everybody's ultimately working towards a common goal. And you'll realise the benefit of the job that you do. And I genuinely mean that, whether you're coming at it from a defence perspective, which I am, or whether you're going into it as a prosecution perspective, or you're coming at it from a different angle, whether you're supporting the court service or the probation service, or dealing with any of the other agencies we've been speaking about. There is absolutely a place for people who are genuinely interested and genuinely committed to this type of work, and you'll make it work because you'll love it. I absolutely promise you'll love it.
The loving it is key to it, isn't it? The loving it is key to it, and I'm really getting that sense, that impression. I hope you're all listening. I hope you're all taking note. And also on that, and again, very quickly, because I know we're sort of coming towards the end, but all of this information has been really, really interesting. And I suppose the last question is very much about sign of the times, put it that way. There's been a lot of advances in technology and all the rest of it, and now we're in a world where we have AI, and there is a lot of perhaps understandable concern out there about how the ascendance of AI may be impacting on various fields of work, and I'm just wondering your perceptions of that, your view of that. Do you think AI in any way is impacting on your work or on your field or the field generally?
Not that I've experienced so far. And the reality of what we do is it's all human interaction. And I spent this morning holding a client's hand in cells who had been charged and remanded for some serious offences and was about to have their first appearance in the magistrates' court. I find it hard to imagine a world where AI would replicate that. And I don't speak for other areas of law, but certainly in my discipline, a lot of what I have to do very quickly and very early on is gain the trust of the person that I'm representing, because I'm there with them at possibly their lowest point of life, certainly their most difficult, their most challenging. They may have their own challenges, whether that is addiction issues, mental health issues, cognitive issues, or a combination of all of them. I can't imagine a world where that AI would replace the empathy and human interaction that's needed, certainly in my field of specialism. But don't get me wrong, that the technology is amazing. The fact that I can do court hearings on video link is amazing. So I can be in Aylesbury in the morning, I can be in Luton in the afternoon, I can be in Milton Keynes later on in the evening. That's something that wasn't possible before. There's advantages in terms of speeding up some of the work that we do, but can I see it replacing us? I'd like to think not. Ask me that again in 5 years, but I would find it difficult, certainly in my field of work, I think.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. It's just, with it being so topical, thought I'd ask, with it being so topical, and and all the concerns there are out there around that, and I think your answer demonstrates the human side to what you do as well. And I think I think your answer was very useful in that regard. Okay, everybody. Now, that half hour went very quickly, I know, but it was also really thanks to Sarah. It's thanks to Sarah and the very interesting answers, and your work sounds immensely fascinating and interesting. And thank you so much again, Sarah, for your time and for your answers. I hope you all in attendance tonight have found that useful, helpful. I hope you listening, those of you logging in and listening, have found that helpful. Now, Joanna, my colleague, is going to put some slides up on the screen, which you might find helpful for signposting for careers advice or careers ideas, which is very much in the theme of what we're talking about tonight. Sarah, I recognise you may have to go. Like you were saying, work-life balance. I know. Yeah, you've got. Thank you so much, and everybody, if you can, show your appreciation for Sarah coming along tonight and answering those questions. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's the first time we've met as well, and it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. We do all appreciate it. There you go. There's all the reactions going on there. So yeah,
lovely. Well, thank you for inviting me. I hope it's been useful. And yes, good luck. And do it. That's my headline for today. If it's what you want to do, please do it. But I'll take my leave of you, Kevin, if I may. And thank you and good luck, everybody.
Yeah. Take care. Thank you again, Sarah. Have a good evening. Okay, and for everybody else, like I say, we've got some slides up on the screen there for you, just outlining the careers resources that we have available that you can access via your portal, via your student home. So there's some careers resources there for you. There's the Opportunity Hub. There's the Employability Services site on the Help Centre, which will hopefully be useful to you. And of course, you have an option to click a button and contact a careers consultant should you wish to discuss anything a bit more thoroughly in a bit more detail with them. I think we've got a couple more slides. Oh, yes. And again, finally, thank you for joining us. And there are further resources there. There's clarifying your goals with the 3-minute careers check-in, build your future career with confidence, navigate future activity pathway, and in various other links there. The general career sites on there as well, open.ac.uk/careers. That's probably a good starting point, to be fair, if you go in there. And of course, at the end of every talk or workshop or what have you, understandably, this is helpful for us as well. We'd be very appreciative if you could complete the participant feedback form based on tonight's session, tonight's talk. It is important to us. It's important to give us feedback. We'd like you to be very honest and participate in that. And there's the link. We would encourage you to complete that and submit that to us as well. Okay, thank you, Joanna. Thank you for the slides, and thank you all once again for attending. And I think